Hello, and welcome to Wealth Management Insights. I'm Monica Guerra, Head of U.S. Policy for Morgan Stanley Wealth Management, and I'm recording this audiocast on January 21st, 2026. As we enter 2026, one thing is clear: policy continues to drive markets more than ever before. The second Trump administration is now moving from 2025 to more selective policy actions. We have long emphasized that it's not just about the policies that are enacted, but also about the timing, scope, and sequencing of them. Today, I want to highlight the top 10 most important upcoming policy developments in 2026 and why they may impact markets. Let's dive in. Midterm elections will continue driving policy. The Republican congressional majority is at stake, which could stall President Trump's agenda in the second half of his term. Historically, sitting presidents lose seats in the midterms, and early indicators suggest this trend might continue. Second, the multipolar world is increasingly driven by access to natural resources and military strength. We expect the U.S. to continue enhancing its global influence through strategic resource control, trade restrictions, and military strength, as recent developments in Latin America and the Middle East have demonstrated. On the fiscal side, we anticipate tailwinds from the OBBBA's individual and corporate tax cuts boosting economic growth, joining a chorus of stimulus in 2026. In that vein, investors will be closely watching Federal Reserve action, not just for more favorable interest rate environment during a time of greater fiscal dominance, but we're also watching a potential structural change at the Fed that could separate the roles of the chair of the FOMC from the chair of the Federal Reserve, decoupling rate setting from executive functions. Now to number 5, affordability continues to be a top concern for voters ahead of the midterm. President Trump is taking various policy actions to tackle rising healthcare, energy, and housing costs, the latter of which primarily depends on the trajectory of monetary policy, which is a great segue to policy number 6, where rising consumer electricity costs from data centers could prompt community pushback, encouraging state and local governments to adopt policies favoring renewables and alternative energy sources. Legislative momentum on digital assets and stablecoins is expected to continue following the passage of the Genius Act in 2025. The potential passage of the Clarity Act could establish a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital assets. And on number 8, the Supreme Court's decision on Trump's IEEPA tariffs could reshape trade policy. While we expect the administration to reimpose tariffs through other sections of U.S. trade law, these could be fairly inefficient, potentially adding to market uncertainty. Additionally, the USMCA renegotiations this year may lead to closer North American economic alignment and tighter trade restrictions on China, reinforcing our long-standing reshoring and nearshoring theme. Lastly, we see an improved outlook for healthcare, where policy-driven uncertainty is fading, while macroeconomic tailwinds are rising for a sector that typically outperforms the market in midterm elections. As always, thank you for listening, and for a more in-depth discussion of these and other topics pertaining to U.S. policy and the markets, please reach out to your Morgan Stanley financial advisor for copies of our recent reports.